Welcome to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones. Tonight, I am going to continue my Black History series, and I'm going to talk about a lady that nobody knows about. It is similar to Rosa Parks. See, all of us have been indoctrinated that Rosa Parks was the first civil rights activist that was told to sit in an area of a bus that was designated for black people. You know that incident in the 1950s. She was tired. She did not want to go sit in the back of the bus. And during that time, there were Jim Crow laws. So she did not abide by these Jim Crow laws. She was arrested. But we've always been told that story. And I actually had the pleasure of meeting Miss Rosa Parks when I worked at Bob's Big Boy in Columbia, Maryland back in 1989. And I got some good information from her. Learned a lot about civil rights, and the best people to learn information from are the individuals who have lived longer than you. But what was never explained to me, and I always ask this question, just because something happened once, has any other person been involved with the same issue? And as I was doing my research, I actually found two other ladies. And I'm going to talk about the second one tomorrow. But this lady, who's from my hometown of Baltimore, Maryland, she goes by the name of Irene Morgan Kirkaldy. Of course, she was born in Baltimore, Maryland, April 9th of 1917, and she died on August 10th, 2007. Now, basically, what happened in this incident is she basically boarded a Greyhound bus in Gloucester, Virginia, which is just north of Yorktown on US 17. Well, she was returning to her home in Charm City, Baltimore, Maryland. She selected a seat in a section of the back of the bus that was designated for black passengers. Half an hour into the trip, a white couple boarded the crowded bus, and the bus driver, under the authority given to him by Jim Crow laws and segregation practices, demanding that Kirkaldy give up her seat. Now, she was raised by a religious family that discouraged questioning authority. So, Kirkaldy decided that her rights outweighed her obedience, so she refused to give up her seat. The bus driver drove directly to a local jail, and a sheriff's deputy boarded the bus and handed her a warrant for arrest. Now, Kirkaldy tore up the warrant and kicked the officer when he tried to grab her. Now, Kirkaldy's stand up against discrimination and segregation landed her in jail. Kirkaldy and her lawyer, Spotswood Robinson III, decided to plead guilty to the charge of resisting arrest, but not guilty to violating the Virginia segregation law. Now, Robinson argued that the segregation law violated the Interstate Commerce Clause of the United States Constitution. Kirkaldy lost her case, but with the help of the NAACP, Thurgood Marshall, it was brought before the United States Supreme Court. Justices heard arguments in Irene Morgan versus the Commonwealth of Virginia and handed down a landmark decision for civil rights on June 3rd, 1946. They agreed that segregation violated the Constitution's practice of interstate commerce. The decision gave a unanimous or a serious blow to segregation laws, and the South refused to enforce the ruling. In response, a group of civil rights activists rode buses and trains across states in the South in 1947, named the Journey of Reconciliation. The activists immortalized Kirkaldy in their song, "You Don't Have to Ride Jim Crow," singing, "Get on a bus, sit any place, calls Irene Morgan to win her case. Irene Morgan versus the Commonwealth of Virginia served as a catalyst for further court rulings and the civil rights movement as a whole. 8 years later, the Supreme Court decided in Brown versus the Board of Education. Segregation violated the equal rights protection as stated in the 14th Amendment. Now, in 1955, Rosa Parks followed Kirkaldy's example and famously refused to give up her seat in Montgomery, Alabama. For her actions, Kirkaldy received numerous awards, including the Presidential Citizens Medal, the second highest civilian award in the country. Kirkaldy died on August 10th, 2007. Her act of courage served as a vehicle of change for the betterment of African Americans throughout the United States. You see, during Jim Crow laws, as black people, we were able to get laws passed to favor us. Now, I have to ask everybody in this generation, would you have been able to do that? My answer to that is no. One thing I will tell you about the African American people in the past, during segregation, we maintained a positive force. We had families. We had a community. We looked out for one another. These were times where we didn't have all the social programs to help us, but we looked for each other. But after the Great Society, that's when everything was dissolved. Prior to that, there's one thing I can tell you about African American people. They were strong when they had each other. And if that were ever to happen again, we would be a strong force. Because when you believe in one another, as well as have the power in God, there are lots of odds you can beat. Now, this is the 1940s. World War II is going on at this time. I mean, segregation is basically running amok. Ku Klux Klan is strong. Lots of lynchings going on in the South. And believe it or not, I used to live in the Commonwealth of Virginia in the Hampton Roads area. So I'm familiar with Yorktown and Gloucester, right up US 17. Take it right up to Port Royal, get on 301, head across the Governor Nice Bridge, right through southern Maryland into Baltimore. Virginia was a haven for Confederacy and still a Commonwealth. You don't want to get in trouble in Virginia. But what I'm trying to emphasize in this commentary that I'm doing is that Miss Irene Morgan Kirkaldy was never mentioned when it came to civil rights. Most of us, if you ask black people today, who was she? You wouldn't know. Because you don't hear about her in schools. You don't hear about her in churches. So unless you're like me, you get a book and you start reading some of this history. And let me tell you something, there are a lot of fascinating points when it comes to black history that I didn't even know. But the more I do YouTube videos and educate myself, I'm very happy that I can put the information out to my audience. Even some of the older folks who grew up in the times, they didn't tell me this information. But as a people, in order for us to really build a community, we didn't know who we are. That means going way back, 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10,000 years to find out where we come from as a people. Because when we talk about ancestry and black history, we always go back to slavery. Slavery is only a short block of time. Black people were kings and queens in Africa. If you look at all of the symbols that Greece and Italy they have today, they copied them from Egypt. The language, the spelling, the alphabet, it's similar to what you saw in Egypt. But going back to Miss Kirkaldy, this is a woman of inspiration. I mean, she actually went through some hostile times. And you're riding on a Greyhound bus after you pay your money. Because a white couple gets on the bus, she has to give up her seat. Now today, you wouldn't think it makes any sense. But in the past, when there was segregation, you had to. Or else you may have been killed for disobeying one of the Jim Crow laws. And if you look at racism, that's real racism. Because there were laws written for blacks that we had to drink out of separate water fountains, sit in the back of the bus, eat in the back of restaurants. Sometimes blacks wore gloves to shake the power or elite's hands because the elite thought blacks were dirty people. Black people have gone through many events during their struggles. But one thing I can tell you is that through the struggles, and even today, even with people like Margaret Sanger, she wants to utilize eugenics to have us breed each other out. We still remain a force. You have groups like NSYNC or the former NSYNC that an African American group by the name of Full Force wrote songs for. You had Elvis. He got his music from rock and roller Chuck Berry. Jerry Lee Lewis got his influence from Little Richard, and so on and so on. Black people have set the example, and still today. I'll tell you this, when it comes to orators, and I'm talking about strong speakers, you don't have to agree with them, but Jesse Jackson was a powerful speaker. Al Sharpton, Louis Farrakhan, Reverend Jeremiah Wright. Don't agree with his politics. Barack Obama, Martin Luther King, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Frederick Douglass, all had the charisma to move crowds. And that's the strength of the orating skills of African Americans. Though some of these African Americans that I mentioned grew up when you couldn't have any education, but they found a way to learn how to read and write and actually make moves during the Civil Rights era. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show for this evening, Valentine's Day, Tuesday, February 14th, 2017. You can tune in to the 401 Talk Zone radio show every Monday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio. Guest call-in number is 215-383-5785. And if you like my videos, please share and subscribe to the 401 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube so I can continue to give you quality information for educational purposes from a professional and mature perspective. Now, on this channel, I don't engage in debates, social issues, emotional issues, nor do I participate in drama and unnecessary bickering. However, if I do utilize a social issue, it's going to be for educational purposes. Because what I'm doing is trying to teach you, as the audience, whether young or old, how to make good decisions so you can survive in the real world. Because it's going to get tougher now that Donald Trump is president. So what I do, I give you the tools that you can apply/use, but they're going to be positive but realistic. Just remember, knowledge is power. And if you have a topic, a business, or YouTube channel that you would like me to talk about on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio, please email me at lej6521@gmail.com. Once again, that's LEJ, Lima Echo Juliet, Lima Echo Juliet 6521@gmail.com. Again, Lima Echo Juliet, or LEJ 6521@gmail.com. And if you have a comment, and I love comments, but make sure your comments are left in the comment section under the video. And your comments must be pithy. No bloviating, pettifogging, or filibustering if you wish to opine. I got a few shout outs before I end this video. Let me give a shout out to some of the newer brothers and sisters. Shout out goes to Conscious Effect. Like, share, and subscribe to his channel. Rashawn DeLay. Shout out to him. Like, share, and subscribe to his channel. Karen Kennedy. Sandy Pooh. Reg the Bad Guy. The Real Deal from Gary, Indiana. Shout out to The Real Deal. I'm from Portage, Indiana. Also, if you're looking for a career in trucking, my brother, Big Body Matt Coley, check out Big Body Trucking. That's Matt Coley's channel. If you're looking for a career in Uber, check out my brother Q Wilson's channel. And last but not least, check out The Healing Place. A shout out to her. That's it for this video. Till next time. My name is Leon Jones. Remember, please be gentle and respectful to each other, and have a wonderful and blessed evening. Good night.